Well, good morning, everyone. I've been informed that the presentation is kind of showing up on, we've got a multi-screen going here, so let me see if I can drop that real quick. Bear with me. And if I don't cancel you all, I should be able to show you just the presentation. So let me go back. Well, I think you might be all stuck with me. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. This will be excuse me, a whole bunch of information in a short period of time. So bear with us as we go through this. About 9:05, we'll get started here. And you're seeing the split screen, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and just do it that way for this first portion. You guys can kind of see some things that are coming up on the next bit of info. So my name is Jeff Lutz. I'm the program director. Gosh, I've got a new title now. Corwin Fisher retired, and so I have assumed his responsibilities. Farm Bureau has hired me for that position, and I will be doing the presentation today, giving you a whole bunch of info. Let's start by the Q&A and the settings on this platform. Most of you know that I'm screen sharing with you. You're getting a multiple screen, but use the chat feature, use the Q&A feature, and you're welcome to jump into that and ask questions and throughout the meeting. There's several of us on here monitoring. You've got Gwen Perkins and Emily Gillis. They are staff in the Lacey office. They're on board. Luis Iziodia is on board. He is one of the safety directors in the field, and many of you know all three of those people. So as you reach out, I'll try to catch some of your questions, some of the chat throughout, and as you have questions, just shoot them to us. So let's start with the presentations today. Emily is a great provider of info and kind of the engineering in the background of what's going on today. So Emily, after she has all your names and all your contact info afterwards today, she'll send out handouts that were given to you. So there'll be a fair amount of this information you'll be able to grab and take a look at and have electronically. So try to save on clutter and paper, and Emily will be sending that to you. So again, thank you for being here. Those of you that are jumping on, my name is Jeff Lutz. I'll be doing your presentation for you today. So let's jump in. So let's talk first about things that are happening in labor and industries. We know overtime is now a new issue for 40 hours. Anything over 40 hours, overtime is required. Minimum wage has gone up. Labor and industries rates have gone up. Oh my goodness, is there good news? Let me see if I can think of some good news. I'll come up with a joke soon, I'm sure. Hopefully just to lighten the mood. It's the cost of doing business keeps going up, and we in agriculture seem to be price takers, not price makers. And so we're working hard behind the scenes to try to mitigate some of those issues when costs go up for you. So just know that there's a full government relations team behind the scenes that work at Farm Bureau that is right now lobbying the legislature on many issues. And all of you have the same thing in common, and that's labor. And we encourage you to get involved in the legislative process if you can. Get in touch with one of us. If you remember nothing else from today, email is king. Send one of us an email. Send the info at WSFB.com or retro@WSFB.com. Many of you have our email addresses. Shoot those to us, and we'll get your questions answered, and we'll get you connected to people that can guide you to your proper legislator and discuss things like overtime and rate increases and the cost of doing business. So certainly we're behind the scenes doing things. If some of you are involved in the county farm bureaus, we encourage you guys to jump in and be involved in that county farm bureau, because it helps make your voice be heard at the legislative level for the state, and then at the federal level for federal programs through the American Farm Bureau, they're just finishing up their annual meeting, the American Farm Bureau annual meeting in Utah right now. So lots going on. We have things coming up for training, education. We've got Ag Safety Day coming up. Yakima is the 31st of this month in Yakima. If you haven't gotten signed up to Ag Safety Day, it's a really good training opportunity to send your employees to, for you to go to as a manager, as an owner, operator, supervisor, rank and file workers. Really great combination of speakers, English and Spanish. Lots of information there. Encourage you to take advantage of that and go to that if you can. Get a hold of one of us. You can Google and we'll get you in contact, get you signed up. You can Google Ag Safety Day, Governor's Safety Conference, Ag Safety Day. It'll come up. Dominique Damien sits on that board for the Governor's Safety Conference Advisory Board, and Luis Iordia sits on the planning committee. So we're connected to Ag Safety Day. So if you need good training for employees, it's a great spot to go. So take advantage of that. We have a training that's coming up. I'm sorry, that's Ag Safety Day for Yakima. The one for Wenatchee will be the 28th of February, and that'll be in Wenatchee all day. Again, same format. There's a couple of speakers on there that you might want to come see, because they're really great dynamic speakers, Jeff Lutz and Luis Iordia. So we'd love to have you there, and we can help accommodate as you guys need assistance with your training. We're going to cover a lot of things today. Some of them are going to be training and information, and want to just make sure you have that ability to be able to take advantage of that. Labor and Industries does a ton of online training. They have workshops that you can attend virtually. They have some that they're doing in person, and they're really, really good training opportunities. It might be on safety and risk management and prevention. It might be on claims. If you've never taken a claims class there, take that claims class and do continuing education. One of the things we try to remind people is continuing education is really, really important. One of the reasons we ask you to come to these workshops, virtual workshops, certainly if you can't make the in-person ones, is to update you on things that are going on in the program, but also to get you information on continuing education, honing your skills, keeping those skills up to date. We have a hands-on handler training class that we're sponsoring with Department of Agriculture. That'll be in Mount Vernon. There are many, many opportunities to do that hands-on handler training. The Mount Vernon class will be, let's see, we changed the dates on those, and it should be the 24th of February in Mount Vernon. I may be mistaken on that, but if you need information, send that to us and we'll get that date to you and get you signed up. It's in Spanish only. So if you need it in English, Tree Fruit did some, Wine Grape Growers is doing some, Growers League, GS Long, WAFLA. There's a bunch of different people that are helping sponsor those hands-on handler training classes. So take advantage of those as you can. We have, with us and upgrading our training, we try to make sure that we're up to speed and trained as well. We need to be able to give you the pertinent information on different changes. That's one of the reasons for this quick update right now. You're just getting a condensed version of some of the things we went over at our workshop, but there's a ton of training available, and we all should be constantly training, because a well-trained worker is usually a safer worker. So let me cover some other things real quick. If you have not recently updated your contact information sheet to us at Washington Farm Bureau, please do that. I believe Emily will be sending this out to you. That's part of the package that she'll send. It's vital that we have contact information. We know staff changes amongst you. Corbin Fisher retired, and I'm now in that position that he had. And so staff changes occur, and we need to be updated on those, to where if we need to contact you, you know that your staff change. We may not know that. So be sure and contact us and help us with that. We have lots of benefits. One of them is the Granger. And in fact, Dominique and I are going to a Granger meeting coming up here next month. And we want to continue our education with what Grainger supplies for us and for our members, but also for you to where you have safety directors that have good honed safety skills that we are continuing our education as well. So that's available for you. We have some updates on wildfire smoke. We will jump into a little bit of that, but just know that we have new in English and Spanish, we have new protocols and plans to add to your accident prevention program. And we certainly can have that for you for an update. Emily will be sending some of that out. We have a presentation I'm going to do today on Farm Bureau Healthcare, and it's information that we provide for our members. I was at the Luis and I attended the potato growers meeting last couple of days in Kennewick, and we have heard different stories of people that have used our healthcare product. Realize that we know it's expensive. You're not always going to have the best of prices, but we talked to one individual that said, "Hey, the price is." Thank you for zooming in and letting us know it is. Sorry, I'm jumping off to the Q&A here. February 21st in Mount Vernon. Thank you guys for putting that up there. So our hands-on handler training class, February 21st in Mount Vernon. Get a hold of us and we'll help you that. In Spanish only class. So we discussed with healthcare with a couple different people at the potato meeting, and one was very positive and the other one was not so positive. So we know there's healthcare is a contentious issue at best. It's a cost is almost always a factor, but if you need help with healthcare, I'm going to give you a brief presentation on that and some contact info. You can screenshot the slide as it comes to it. Let us know if you need help with the healthcare. We're going to talk about community outreach for labor and industries. It's on a presentation we've got. We're going to go over real quick. The community relations can help you, certainly if you have H-2A workers. They are doing a tremendous amount of individual assistance with employers to H-2A, specifically when H-2A workers may have an injury, and that injury is the claim is not closed, or the injury doesn't have an end date to it for treatment, and that person's contract, that federal contract ends, and they have to go back to their country of origin. And just know that we have assistance with that with our claims staff. It's difficult sometimes on those H-2A contracts, but community outreach is also instrumental in helping with that. I'll give you a brief update on that as well. So I haven't seen any Q&A on that. So let's move on to the first part of our presentation. Let me go and show you some info here on our performance data. And I think you guys can still see the slide. You see my full screen. I'll get out of that here in a minute, but this is pretty brief. I want to show you the refunds and the projections and the things that we anticipate happening. This is data and info from Labor and Industries. You can see several things here on this slide. Coverage years. Realize that the reason it's called retro is because it lags behind for 3 full years with a 4th adjustment, and then the refunds are generated. If it's in the red with parentheses, that's a boo-boo. That's bad. That's a bad year that our claims costs rose above premiums. So remember, the premise of retro is that if the premiums paid are greater than the claims cost, then the employer is eligible via the group for a performance refund of the difference of the employer paid portion. That's if the premiums, excuse me, are greater than the claims costs. We can see 2021 here. Some numbers are a little messy, but you can see that our premiums and our losses are to a point that we are in a deficit. So we have a program year. Those numbers need to be adjusted, but we're in a program year that will have a loss. But if you look at the good news, and let's focus on the good news, for those of you that are in our retro program, you are going to see a substantial refund for the 22 program year as it's projected right now. So remember, the program year will not refund until 2026, because it's a full 4 years. It's 3 full years and then an adjustment period. So right now we'll be refunding the 2020 program year. We do get advances on these sometimes, but that money's still at risk. So that money is not necessarily available. And you can see with the refund amount there, with the assessment, there's a reason that those funds are held back. So let's talk about accident types and things that occur. And you can see that one of our most costly and most frequent claims, injuries, is falls. And it's usually falls from ladders, because we have a fair amount of tree fruit employers in our retro program. Many of you diversify and you have tree fruits and you have other commodities, and you try to spread your risk. That's the idea behind retro and behind Farm Bureau, is that we spread that risk out, get that risk spread between different risk classes, different commodity groups, different types of farming. And that way we have power in our refund mechanism. If you're not in our retro program, you're part of our TLC or CSI program, you're still getting huge benefits in your reduction in premiums and your interaction with Labor and Industries, because we're there helping you with those. But it doesn't matter whether it's retro coverage or whether it's general agriculture that is not in our retro coverage or not in one of our programs. These numbers are still very similar. So bodily reaction can be something where someone slips and falls and they brace themselves real quick, put their hands out, and they injure themselves with a soft tissue injury or maybe a broken bone when they reach out and slip and fall. You can see on there that struck against and struck by is high. You can see that overexertion is high. Falls are always part of our issues, and falls can be from upper levels or it can be on the same level. So those are our factors that happen with our injuries. Now, if you look at the overexertion injuries, and I'm assuming you guys can see my cursor here, and you can see overexertion injuries in oh gosh, it was the mid 20 teens. I voted for, and many of you voted for, an initiative that said no ergonomics rule in the state of Washington until federal OSHA decides to do an ergonomics rule. Well, last year, 2 years ago, now 2022, the governor and the legislature overturned the vote of the people, and there will be an ergonomics rule. Now, right now, it's going to focus on warehousing, repetitive motion, and warehousing. I'm talking about not packing houses as much as it is for distribution centers. And this is mainly driven by companies like Amazon, where they had huge injuries from overexertion at the distribution level at their warehouses. So just know that an ergonomics rule is coming. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in the DOSH presentation on what you can do to avoid having compliance show up at your door. Okay. So just know an ergonomics rule is coming. Here's data for another coverage year, and you can see very, very similar. Not going to spend a lot of time on it other than look at our falls and our struck bys. I'll jump back to the other one. You can see they're very, very similar. Overexertion is still a higher number. Bodily reaction is a higher number. So let's talk about, gee, after I've had this this injury and I've needed to report it to Labor and Industries. Now, remember, if you have a God forbid, a fatality, a hospitalization of a worker overnight for observation doesn't count, but in some sort of capacity where they seek further treatment, you're required within 8 hours of discovering that to report that to Labor and Industries. If that occurs, please get a hold of us. I'm going to talk quite a bit about prevention today, but I'm also going to talk quite a bit about what happens after the claim. So an injury occurs, maybe you're on a target list and you haven't even had an injury, and Labor and Industries shows up and they say, hi, we're here from the government. We're here to help you. And one of the first things they should ask for is permission to enter your premises. They should do an opening conference with you. Some of the things they're going to ask you for are, do you have a written accident prevention program? And you can see on these DOSH most cited. Let me talk real quick about DOSH. People say, well, OSHA's at my door. Probably not. Probably not. OSHA is the feds, DOSH is the state. OSHA has given authority to the State Department of Labor and Industries to have their own safety division, which is called Division of Occupational Safety and Health, or DOSH. Those are the inspectors that show up. Several years ago, we complained is probably the wrong word, but we complained to Labor and Industries and said, hey, don't be sending people out to farms that don't know the front end or the back end of a cow. If they don't know the industry, they don't need to be out scrutinizing the industry. So Labor and Industries trained up 13 inspectors that are designated just for agriculture. They can do inspections on other industries, but agriculture is their focus. There's 13 of them. We know most of them, and most of them are pretty good inspectors. Every now and then, some of them will get off in the weeds and we'll have some issues with them. But for the most part, we've got some inspectors out there that are quite good at what they do. They have a good understanding of what happens in agriculture, and therefore they are well versed in inspecting your workplace. But one of the first things they ask for after permission is your written safety plan or your accident prevention program. Now, those of you that are doing food safety, you're well covered in all of this. There's a ton of stuff that overlap because it gets off into worker safety on the food safety side as well, environmental safety and health. The accident prevention program, you most of you, and I'm preaching to the choir here because most everyone that's in one of our programs or associated us in one with us in one shape or form, they have good safety programs. You guys are already the best of the best. But when things like wildfire smoke comes up or heat related illness and there's changes in the rules, obviously you need an update. If you need those, get a hold of us. We will help you with updates on those. But the accident prevention program is one of the most cited and fined violations by DOSH compliance to the ag industry. And one of the reasons is because they can say, okay, you have respirators and you are supposed to do medical evaluations for the people that wear those respirators and an annual fit test. These are all written protocols that you need for respirators. It's just a portion of your accident prevention program. So medical questionnaire, annual fit test, cleaning and maintenance and storage of that respirator, training and education of the workforce. All of that needs to be documented. And in that documentation, they can do an inspection. Let's say you had a chemical exposure. You had an injury where there was a chemical exposure. They show up at your door. Hi, I'm here from the government, here to help you. And they say, hey, we want to look at your safety program. Let's look at specifically your respirator program because you had a chemical exposure and we're not sure why someone wasn't wearing a respirator. So they look at it and they say, oh, well, you don't have a respiratory protection program that's part of your accident prevention program. So they cite that. So if they can find a hazard and they relate it back to your safety program and you don't have that, they can cite the hazard and they can also cite your written program. That's why accident prevention program is number one. It's not always a monetary penalty, but sometimes it is. Next one is safety meetings. And you can see that that is something that needs to be done. In construction, it's weekly because you're changing jobs often in construction. You're changing tasks, you're changing duties. In agriculture, it's required monthly. So you should have 12 safety meetings documented. Some of you are using Harvest, the smartphone application that we help you get in contact with them. We share with those guys and promote. They're a great resource. If you're using that, then you're going to be able to document your safety meetings. But just know that that's one of the things they ask for. If you're changing tasks and jobs within your operation on a regular basis, then maybe you should do a quick safety meeting on the new task or the new job or whatever it is you might be doing with that employee. So accident prevention program number one, safety meetings number two, written hazard communication, chemical information, safety data sheets, records for training for employees on did you do chemical training for them before they actually mixed, loaded, or handled those, applied those chemicals. maybe you're a dairy and you've got people that are applying chlorine, or they're using iodine, or they're cleaning equipment, and there's possibility that they may use acids and they may use alkalines. And if you mix those, they will off gas. And so those are important things to be training people on. But L&I will show up and they'll say, hey, if you don't have a written hazard communication program, which we help you supply, we supply those for you and help you with those. That's one of the citations written. Employee training, I just mentioned that. Another reason to be documenting your employee training. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. You can take one of these, a smartphone, and you can say, hey, one of the easiest ways to document some training I did. I don't have it written down, but there's a bunch of people gathered around. We're talking safety because you're probably doing it all the time. And you can just take a quick picture of that and it date and time stamps it. And now you have that information that you can be able to prove that you did documented training. The safety meetings with Harvest, that works really well to document the safety meetings. There's also some training that you can have on that. But it's important to document. Everybody that wants to do more paperwork, raise your hand. Yeah, thought so. Fire routes, fire exits, fire protection. This is, not having exits blocked. This is having fire extinguishers available. Routes of exit. Those are all things that Labor and Industries might scrutinize and cite for. Medical evaluations. This is part of the respiratory protection program. Maybe you're a construction company or you're doing construction, then you're really agriculture and you come across some asbestos. Ooh, or lead. Those are issues that you need to stop and look back and go, hey, wait a minute, there's probably more to this than just tearing out the old asbestos tainted product or lead tainted materials. Let's see if there's rules that apply to this, and we need medical evaluations. This in particular happens to be for agriculture and related to respirators, but certainly if you're doing other things too, because in agriculture, we do things like, hey, the panel blew off the roof last night. Let's get up on top of the roof and fix that. And you might be up doing leading edge work, and you probably need some sort of fall protection or fall arrest system. Those are things that sometimes we don't think about. You're digging over 4 feet in the ground, and I don't mean a 4-foot ditch. I mean a 3-foot ditch with a 2-foot spoils pile alongside of it. Now you're 5 feet underground. There's some trenching and shoring that should come into place on that. Not mentioned here on the citations, but it's a valid point to be able to think about. What's my fall protection? What's my trenching and shoring? Because we do those things in agriculture. So pesticide record keeping, if you're not doing pesticide record keeping, you're not passing your food safety audits. So that is usually not us. That's not part of our programs. You, the employer, are doing a great job of all of these things. Pesticide record keeping happens to be one of the citations that Labor and Industries writes. TWH, temporary worker housing. And then if they can't find something, they'll end up with safe place. And they'll say, well, safe place is basically saying you're required to provide a workplace free from recognized hazards, and you did not do that. And so therefore, we don't have a code that reference it, but we're going to cite you because you do not have there's no rule, but you should have known better than to have that exposure potential for that employee. So I don't see any questions on that. We'll keep right on going. I'm going to do another screen share. We're going to jump to the next portion. Let's talk about, let's just pull them up as they go here. Let's do one on COHE and what COHE does. So COHE is Centers for Occupational Safety and Health. I'm sorry. Yes, Center for Occupational Health and Education for the employer, for the employee, and for Labor and Industries, for the claims managers, for the providers. Really, really important tool that's probably going on behind the scenes that you may or may not be aware of. And with that awareness comes, and I think what I'm going to do here, if I can get to it, I can do my screen share. Nope. Hold on. Let's go screen share. There we go. So let's talk real quick about Kohi. Let me check and make sure someone's not texting me and saying, "Hey, I can't see you." Hey, oh, good. My screen share is now perfect. Viewer mode. Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate that. People on that are monitoring. My cousin Brooke's taking care of me. Thank you, Brooke. So let's talk real quick about Kohi and what it is. This is on a workers' comp claim. This is after a claim has occurred, and you are probably having them look at it's like our claims staff in our office in Lacey. We have several claims people in our office in Lacey that are looking at your claims. Every single workers' comp claim you have is being looked at by multiple people. You should be the primary one, the first and foremost one that's reviewing that claim, but just know there's a lot of people behind the scenes. Remember, the easiest claim to manage is the one you never have. But we know that accidents occur too. So let's talk real quick about Kohi and what it does. So Kohi is behind the scenes. It's a health and education of a lot of different things. One of them being labor and industries, one of them being the providers. And you can see here the model and the consistency shows the reductions of disabilities. It's the timeliness of getting those claims to a point where they can go to closure. And really, what you want is you want that injured worker treated as quickly as possible and back to work, because we get back to work to get better, not get better to get back to work. Here's some things that are part of their mission, and you can see that where they kind of overlap with everyone. This is why I mentioned it's Kohi is involved with you, the employer, with healthcare providers, with injured workers, and labor, and then with labor and industries. If you have a complex claim and you have issues with that complex claim, Kohi is there to help you, and they can, if you reach out to Kohi, if and I'll show you here on a slide coming up how you can get in contact with them. But this is their mission, and it's to be that liaison between a whole bunch of different components within the claim itself, of moving that claim along to get good treatment for the worker, to get them returned back to the best quality they can be and back to work on a timely basis. And they're working behind the scenes on that. So there's 7 different Kohis across Washington, Eastern Washington, Western Washington. They're all across the state. I'm not going to go into this very deep. You'll get this presentation. You can take a peek at. There are health service coordinators that work within those Kohis. You can see here some of the core services they provide. You can get down to where they're referring community resources at the bottom there. It's a return to work. It's a coordination of that. In just a few minutes, we're going to talk about return to work, and we're going to talk about stay at work and getting reimbursed for some of those funds that you pay. Certainly, Kohi is an integral part of the claim. Of the process. If you go to a claim and you look at the claim itself, there's times that you'll see Kohi comments, or there's a health services coordinator that's involved with that. So pay attention to those, because they're working behind you. Here's where you can go to request information. You can say, well, I got this claim and it's starting to be a little more complex. You can go to the Claimant Account Center. If you're not on the Claimant Account Center, we encourage you to do so. Really, really important to be on that Claimant Account Center. So go to that Claimant Account Center. You can go to claim information. You can find addresses and contacts, and you can see in there that you can request that care coordinated assistance. And here, this happens to be Tiffany Elkins. She traveled around with us this year for our workshops. She's not able to make these. We just said, you know what, let's just streamline this. We'll make it a couple-hour meeting. It'll be easier. We can do this presentation and show you the info. We took a 3.5-hour meeting and crammed it into 2 hours here. So, but Tiffany is one that she's a health services coordinator. She can help you with a ton of stuff. She happens to be based in Spokane, out of Providence, but she can, if she can't do it, she can get you in contact with the people that do. Because I mentioned back here how many different Kohis there are in Washington. There's a ton. So anyway, they're working behind the scenes. This is kind of a quick snapshot of their costs and how it interacts with their mission, how it helps employees. The goal is to get that employee returned back to their normal life just as quickly as they can. But you can see that the outcomes, non-Cohe versus Cohe, those adjusted numbers of savings over the different quarters. It can be complex because claim cycles are pretty complex. I'm just going to pause here for just a moment, let you look at that and say, oh my gosh, yeah, there's a whole bunch of information here on the claim process itself. In that process, the complexities abound. And you don't do them all the time, but staff in our office does, and Cohe does, and the claims managers and I do, and work with your resources. Get a hold of us. It may be a Cohe health services coordinator that needs to help you. There are times that doctors are I don't want to say roadblock, but let's say the doctor's being difficult because they're so busy and they don't have time to, you look at the activity prescription form, the APF they send you, and you want to get Jeff back to work as quickly as possible. So you contact the doctor, and the provider doesn't always respond when you send in a job description to them and say, hey, I've got this modified duty job for Jeff to do. Can you please review this and okay it for me? We'll talk about that as we get into the stay at work process too, on making money on the claim. You're not going to make money on the claim. You're going to get reimbursed for some of the claim, but the ability to get some of that money back and the complexities in that, you might need to have a health services coordinator get a hold of the provider and say to the provider, hey, we're seeing a consistent process here where either you're not completing the activity prescription form to where the employer can read it and do a job description and get that worker back to work. And so the health services coordinator, someone from Cohe, may be pertinent to talk to the doctor, because you can talk to the doctor, but they're busy. And it's not an excuse. I'm just telling you, they're busy. You may not ever talk to a doctor. You may talk to a clinic manager. You may talk to a nurse case manager. You may talk to a practitioner that's working under that doctor, an RN. But just know that you have resources to be able to get a hold of Cohe, because if you look at the complexities of this, you go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do here. And then there's ways that you can improve that claims process. And remember, when I showed you the paperwork for us that says, hey, can you give us the contact info? We need good contact information. That's one of the things that helps that claims process. Because if Emily or Lisa or Gwen or Teresa or Kaylin or myself or Dominique or Luis, one of us says, well, I don't know who the contact is there. Let's see if we can get a hold of them. It's going to slow this process down. So really important that if you can send that in to us with updates, really, really important. Same thing in the claims process. Once that's been initiated, you need to be up to date on everything on that claim and make sure that people have a good understanding of what's expected of them as an injured worker versus what's expected of your supervisors and your leads, and the complexities of that claim, because the easiest claim to manage is the one you never have. More info on where you can go to get information. This is a great example of employer's job description. It looks very similar to the activity prescription form. It benefits you because you can say, well, here's how long Jeff can sit. Here's how long Jeff can stand in this modified duty job. And then you can match it up to that activity prescription form. And since the doctor says I can sit for 6 hours and I can only stand for 2, well, then you could build your job description to match that. And maybe it's sorting papers, or maybe it's learning a new language on a computer, or maybe it's sorting bolts in the shop, but I can sit. And so therefore, it's important that you get these job descriptions together, because it's going to minimize the impact of the claim, and it's going to minimize the time that the worker is out of their normal duties. So really, really important. Cohe is doing this behind the scenes as well. So there's a quick 10-minute deal on what Cohe is, what it does. Here's some contact info for you. This happens to be Central Washington, but you can certainly get a hold of us. There's one on Western Washington there as well. You can get a hold of us and we'll walk you through the process of that. I don't see any questions. I've put you all to sleep. Let's go to the next one. And let's look at, in that claims process, let's look at stay at work. So I mentioned that we would do some brief info on the stay at work program, what it is, how it works, how you get money back when Jeff is injured and I need to have him do a modified duty job. There's a process here where you can get refunds back on 50% of the wages you pay me during the time that I am injured and in a modified duty job. So here's just a quick snapshot. I'm going to go through this real quickly. Real quick snapshot of what return to work is, some different options that might be available. Each case is going to be different because each person is different. You're going to have every person that has an injured worker, has a workers' comp claim that's an injured worker. It's going to be a little bit different because they're a different person. Jeff's going to react different than Luis. Luis is going to react different than Emily. Emily's going to react different than Lisa and Gwen and Teresa, and it goes on. And that's just human nature. So when a claim happens and an employee doesn't return to work, now realize an employee doesn't return to work under a modified duty where you can get refunds back or 50% of that reimbursement, or a kept on salary. And we're not going to go too deep into the weeds on kept on salary, but just know that kept on salary is a good tool for you initially when the claim is started to say, well, I'm not going to let Jeff go and just, draw labor and industries because my rates are going to go up. My rates are going to go up, and I'm going to show you at the end of this presentation today, we're zooming along here, of why safety and claims management pays. But just know that to minimize those costs, there's things that you should do. But that workers' comp increase, loss of skilled employees, that employee loses 30 to 40% of their income. Luis is really good at telling people in training that we provide. Some people say, wow, I've had a workers' comp claim and I've hit the lottery. Well, I don't know how losing 30% of your income is hitting the lottery. But some people think that. They think, well, I don't have to work now. So remember, complexities abound, but when you have a stay at work program, you can at least get them back to work and get reimbursed for that and get them to be a productive employee. I know a lady that works at a school district that has 5 different labor unions that she deals with and about 3,000 employees. And there are times that in that, remember, each claim is going to be a little bit different. We'll call this lady Molly because that's her name. And she will say to people, you are a valued employee and we need you here back to work for productive services, for productive reasons, and also to better yourself. We don't want you to languish on a workers' comp claim outside of work. That may not be true, but it's certainly valid. It's something that everyone should be told. You are an important part of our operation. I have heard people say things like, I'm tired of Jeff and he needs to go. Okay, well, why? Well, he's insubordinate. He argues a lot. He doesn't show up to work on time. Okay, have you documented any of that? Well, no. Oh, and by the way, Jeff has an open workers' comp claim. Oh, so you're going to terminate Jeff because you don't like him, or you're going to terminate him because he has an open workers' comp claim? Or maybe it's both. If that's the case, then it should have been documented before. So now you're going to start today and you're going to move forward. You're going to say, Jeff doesn't show up to work on time. Jeff is insubordinate. He doesn't follow directions. The next part, the next part, the next part, the next part. But when Jeff has an open workers' comp claim, it's much more difficult to manage that. So stay at work program is a state law that was enacted a few years ago. It's part of the state fund. You're already paying for it. We get a list of employers, the amounts that are available to you, and it's staggering to know the money that is there. Now, some of these have changed. The numbers have changed on these. They just changed this year, and this is an update from last year, so a little bit different, but here's some basics of wage reimbursement. It's 50% of that wage, up to 66 days, maximum of $10,000. There's some costs of some values that are going up. We're not going to get off in the weeds in that today, but just know that it's base wages. It doesn't include tips. It doesn't include commissions or bonuses. Reimbursement isn't for vacation pay or sick leave or kept on salary. But those 66 days do not have to be consecutive. There is some paperwork involved with it. Here is your wage reimbursement portion. You couple this with your payroll records, and you get 50% of the wage. But the job description and the clearance from the provider have to be included in this. You have to have that activity prescription form initially. Jeff gets injured. He's got a week that you're going to pay him kept on salary. The next week, by that time, you've coordinated with the doctor, with a provider. You've gotten a job description to them. That job description has given them the ability to say, yes, Jeff can do this modified duty job. You do me a formal job offer in my language of understanding. I sign it. I get back to work, and then the clock starts ticking. You have to keep track of all of those, but then you get reimbursed for that time. There's tools and equipment. These numbers are going up. It has to be necessary in that light duty work. You can't say, well, I'm gonna buy this new vehicle because and I want reimbursed up to $2,500 for that because Jeff's going to use that new vehicle. Well, Jeff already had a vehicle, so maybe that's not part of it. And they're not items for normally that you would normally provide to your employees. But when it's done, the claim's closed, that individual, that worker, or you, the employer, get to keep that product, whatever it was. So here's your application again. This is the information that you need to provide. Not going to spend a ton of time on it. We're going to zoom through. You can do training. Gwen and Lisa and Emily need to update me if this number has gone up. I believe it's not $1,000 anymore. So if you guys want to chime in, go for it. It could be books, it could be tuition, it could be college courses. Needs to be necessary for that person to perform their job, but that training is included. It can be clothing. This number's gone up as well. It has to be needed for that light duty job. It's not clothing that you would normally provide to people. You get reimbursed for all this. So here's the documentation that I already mentioned this, that light duty job description that's approved by the provider, that reimbursement form, payroll records and daily time cards, an expense reimbursement form, and then any dated and itemized receipts if you want a reimbursement for those the training or the product that you supplied, those types of things. And you'll get 50% of that back.
Hey, Jeff,
Yes?
could you please check your share screen? Folks are not seeing any documents on the screen or any presentation.
Oh. Well, let's check it again.
See, that's what happens when you suddenly you unmute me and allow me to speak.
It is not sharing. Well, that's interesting. Thank you.
Okay, that works now. We're
Okay, I
looking good.
apologize. Yeah, that did not share. Thank you for jumping in.
Now I'll quit talking.
Let's try it again. So let me go forward from here. I can't seem to get to my main screen. Back to, there we go. So let me jump back real quick. I apologize. Let me jump back to some of these forms. Here's employer forms. And you'll have these. We'll send these to you. Here's a reimbursement application. And you can see that they're very similar to documentation that's already needed for a light duty job offer. For job descriptions. They're very similar. They mimic each other. Here's the training information, clothing. Here's the documentation. Here we are with an activity prescription form that shows that information on when someone can do light duty. So, here's one of the issues is that there'll be times that injured workers go to a doctor and the doctor has a pad in their hand and they say, Jeff, you're injured. How much time off do you want? Well, 6 months is great. Well, maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks, depends on the severity of the injury. But they will ask the employee how much time they think they need off, and then based on their opinion as a provider, they'll put in there modified duty. This worker is released to the job of injury, or on an APF, they'll say this person can work modified duty, and here's their limited hours, here's their dates that they can work it. This is where the stay at work comes into play to make sure that you are developing a job description that mimics the exact same things that they're saying on this form, because there are restrictions in this and you need to make your job description be the same. So you need to comply with those work restrictions. There's a section on how we're going to do that. We're going to make sure that they look the same. So if Jeff's job is I can sit for 6 hours, there I'm going to put it down that he's going to sit for 6 hours. If I can stand and walk for 2 hours, I'm going to put that down. Jeff can stand and walk for 2 hours. This has to go to the provider first, and the provider okays it. You may need to banter back and forth with a provider or a clinic manager or an RN, someone to get that that activity prescription form and the job description verified to where you can have that person back to work and get that okayed by the doctor. The provider has to okay it. And you have to have that written approval, and then you can work towards the stay at work reimbursement. So here's kind of a flow chart of different things that you're going to do. You're going to create that return to work policy. You're going to have that light duty job description with the employee and to the provider. You're going to have them working that light duty job up to 66 days. You've got that reimbursement that you can apply within a year of the light duty work. And then that person gets back to work when the APF is green and they're released to the original job of duty. But you have got, in that time, you've gotten refunds back on your workers' wages that you paid. 50% of those wages you get paid back. So there are some resources for that. lni.wa.gov/stay at work/return to work. And then, of course, incentives, stay at work, reimbursements, those are all websites through Labor and Industry you can go to and you can get that information. So I apologize. Thank you for bringing that up, Gwen. There was about half of that you did not get to see in real time as I was going through it. Any questions? All right. Right on moving here. So let's talk real quick about what's our next. Let's talk about community relations, and let's say that I've got an issue with an H-2A worker, and that H-2A worker is to the point that they're about to return back to their country of origin. And in that, they need to there is not a process for you to be talking to that provider that might be in another country. Bear with me while I'm trying to get my drop down to stop so I can go back to the slideshow. There we go. So we're having our issue with an employee that is an H2A worker and I need to get them back to work. I need to get the claim closed before they go back to their country of origin. And I don't have this process, so I'm going to have Labor and Industries is going to come and they're going to give a presentation to your employees. Okay, now my computer's locked up. Well, this is the technical difficulties that we get to share. Thank you. Let's stop sharing for a second. See if I can do it again here. That one is not wanting to forward. Okay. Well, I know you can see that screen if I share this one, so let's try that without it being in the presentation mode and see what we get here. Okay. So we'll do it this way rather than do the presentation mode. Let me try it real quick and see if it will work and if it will. There we go. Now it's going to work. Thank you for bearing with me. This happens to be a presentation from their main office of community relations, where they have partnered with us to say, let's have this process where there are many things we can do. One of them, we could help you in assistance with workers' comp claims. And specifically, as I mentioned, for the H2A, but you can see they have offices around the entire state. They have outreach specialists, community relations specialists. They could come in and talk to your employees. And it's interesting, some of the things that they talk about. They'll talk about things, workplace safety and health, workplace injuries, workplace rights. And sometimes we hear people say, well, man, if I start telling them about their rights, then pretty soon I'm going to have a bunch of people, wanting to know that they have rights that I really don't want them to know because it's going to make my job more difficult. If people know their rights, it's going to make your job easier. We can tell people that, you have rights and you also have responsibilities. So in that, it's a two-way street. And these guys, Rudy especially is one of their presenters, and he is really, really good at making sure people understand that they have rights, but they also have responsibilities. Just know that as these folks who you'll see here in just a minute, these folks are, small business resource. They have language access to a lot of different languages, but they can also reach out and say, hey, I mentioned H2A. I'm locked up again here, folks. Come on. All right. Let's go the next way. So I may just bail on community relations if we're not going to be able to watch it. So on the community relations side, if you need assistance with that, we have H2A packets. Gwen sent me a chat that, we can use our tools and resources to help you and say, hey, why don't you, this H2A worker, they're getting ready, their claim is still going, they're getting ready to return to their country of origin. Let's get community outreach there. Maybe we can have them assist you in conversation back and forth with the employer, with the employees, and assist them. And we have H2A packets that we can help you with that as well. So I'm going to skip that because it keeps locking up on me. So maybe Labor and Industries tried to taint us and not let us do the presentation. But they're a great resource. The ability to have them help with interaction back and forth with your employees. It's a great tool for you. So let me go to DOSH consultation here. If my computer will work for me. technical difficulties. Another one from Labor and Industries I was trying to pull up, and it did not work. So let me try to open it. Thank you for bearing with me. And let me share that. There we go. So when we did our flyer to you, to our emails and our postcard and our information that we sent out, we said, hey, attend our workshop and we'll teach you how to keep from having a compliance visit from Labor and Industries. Well, it's true. You can do that via DOSH consultation, but we kind of fudged a little bit in telling you that because everyone in agriculture is probably a target for DOSH compliance. But if you have consultation in, you can keep compliance from showing up for programmed compliance inspections for a full year. That means that if you're on a target list somewhere, which agriculture probably is, then you've got a year that once you have them out, they'll take you off that program list. Now, if you have a serious injury that requires hospitalization or God forbid, a fatality, a employee complaint, a referral, someone drives by and they go, oh my gosh, I saw Jeff up on the roof of ABC Farms and he was up there working without fall protection and I'm going to turn them in. They're going to show up. But they'll still ask you for your safety plan. They'll still ask for permission. They'll still ask for your OSHA log. Don't let me forget to talk about OSHA logs real quick before the end today. But they'll ask for all of that. But they are only going to target the specific area that they got the complaint from, or where the injury was, or the referral was. They'll go just to that spot. They'll still want some of the paperwork, but they'll go just to that spot. So just know that that will help keep you out of compliance from Labor and Industries. It's a proactive approach. It covers many different things. You can see it covers safety. It covers industrial hygiene, which, by the way, Dominique Damien, she's one of your safety directors on staff, that covers industrial hygiene. It's not fixing big teeth. It has nothing to do with dental hygiene. It's things that safety does things that are acute injury potential. It's machine guarding, it's falls, it's things that will hurt you right now. Industrial hygiene deals with things that can be chronic injuries that occur over a number of years. And then industrial hygiene, they will look at things like chemicals, like noise. What? I said noise. Huh? Because farmers are notorious for having hearing loss. Make sure people are wearing hearing protection, folks. They may cover, industrial hygiene may cover smoke, heat-related illness, things that'll hurt you over a long period of time, respiratory protection. Those are things that industrial hygiene will cover. Ergonomics, consultation now has the ability to have a couple of ergonomists out and help you with repetitive motion injuries. So there are tools within the Department of Labor and Industries consultation. The last one, risk management, is one that will come and look at your actual rates, and they'll give you information on, hey, here's your costs, and here's the information that we can give you to help you lower those costs. We can get you in with consultation. We can show you, here's where your injuries occurring. Here's the things that are causing the accidents in your workplace. Here's the costs of those. And risk management is really, really good at doing that. We do it as well, but risk management is certainly a spot that you can use to do that. And I have locked up again. Well, isn't this fun, you guys? Thanks for bearing with me. Let's try screen share again without the presentation. Nope, it's going to do the presentation again. All right. Maybe I need a new computer. Is my boss on? Let's see. I am still locked up. My goodness. Okay. We'll close it and try something else. Bear with me. Well, let's do it this way then. So what are they going to look at? Well, they're going to look at the same things that we at Farm Bureau do, and that is we're going to look at your accident prevention program, and we're going to review your workplace, and we're going to, maybe explain some health and safety regulations and um, discuss specifics that are needed for your operation. We may talk to some of your employees. And by the way, a lot of times when people do these consultations like this, they get a hold of us first and say, hey, tune me up. And then let's have those guys come out and let's have them do things that can prevent injuries and illnesses and allow me to be ready for them. And then they're going to come in and they're still going to find things because they're a different set of eyes, but they're going to come in and say, what can we do to help? What can we do to get you ready for them to come in and help? And it's all about prevention, because if we can prevent the injury in the first place, all of that stuff I covered in claims does not have to be taken care of. They may look at the industrial hygiene part, confined space, there's noise, I mentioned that, biological exposures or air quality. They may need an ergonomist that will come in and look at repetitive motion and some things that you can do to prevent those soft tissue injuries. Go back to the first slides that I showed you and look at what some of the most costly injuries we have are ergonomic injuries. They're bodily reactions, but they're also these ergonomic injuries. And in those, they're falls, they're struck bys. But if we can reduce the cost of these ergonomic injuries with a consultation on, hey, maybe there's ways to fix this, that we can engineer it out and we can have people not have these potential exposures and become injured. Let's get that done and have that ergonomist come in and take a look. So they kind of work together. It's that safety, it's managing your risk within that, it's claims management. How much work do I want to do on a claim? Well, not very much. So let's not have it in the first place. They can talk about your rates. They can help you with that management commitment. Same thing we do. And then the human resource side of it too. So this happens to be Central Washington. We all work very closely with all of these folks, and we do a fair amount of consultations with our members on a regular basis. So if you'd like to do this, please reach out to us. It will take you off a target list. It will make you a better workplace. Many of you on today have already done this. So if you have the opportunity to do so, have us out, get you tuned up. We've got members that Louisa and I were getting ready to do one right before Christmas, and they do it every year. And they said, can you guys come? Well, Louisa and I happened to be needing to go to a meeting in our office and weren't able to be there, but Louise went and tuned them up beforehand. And they passed with flying colors. Okay, let us know and we'll help you after. It happened to be Mitch Reffett. He's the one that came through and did the inspection and what can we help with? And they really passed with flying colors. A couple of items they needed to deal with and they already had it done. So it's painless. You're already paying for it. It's an extra set of eyes and ears that you can have to help you with your workplace safety. Because the idea is prevention. If we can prevent that injury in the first place, that's the main goal. Let's see what chat has to say here.
I also, sorry to interrupt, Jeff. This is Luis Isiordia. I just wanted to mention too that a lot of times if you have a new piece of machinery and you're not sure if all the guards are in place, remember they are consultation. They are the ones you want to ask what you need to be able to stay compliant and safe. So that's something else to consider.
Yeah, great point, Luis. If someone has, so they'll do what's called partial. They'll do one inspection for you per year, but then they'll do what Luis is talking about, a partial. Maybe you got a new chemical that you're using. Maybe you've got a new, maybe it's a new process that you do and you're not sure. Maybe I could have an ergonomist come out and help me with that. They'll do that up to like 3 or 4 times a year. So it doesn't have to necessarily be one time. Like Luis said, I got a new machine here. Let's make sure it's all guarded up. Can I ask consultation to come out? Absolutely. Yep, they'll come out and help you with it. Thanks, Luis. Let me see if this will work again, and I'll try the slideshow once I share my screen. And let's talk real quick about WAFLA. And many of you know who WAFLA is, and you work with them, and they provide you with H2A workers. We partner with them. We asked them to come and do a meeting with us, our meetings with us. Obviously, they aren't here today, but the summit just occurred in Yakima, where Rick Gustellum, who used to work with us at Farm Bureau, guided them and did and Luis happened to attend this while I was off in the Northwest Washington with Dominique on workshops. And Luis, if you want to chime in on this of how that summit went, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll keep right on going.
As we go.
So, basically you've got WAFLA that's really, really well educated on H2A, and they're doing a bunch of things for you to get you a good standardized workforce that can come in and do your tasks and do your jobs that are seasonal and temporary work. Unfortunately, H2A is for temporary work, not for permanent work. So dairies are usually exempt. The farm side is not, but the dairies would be exempt from H2A. But there's a bunch of stuff they're doing behind the scenes that they have partnerships with Harvest. They have different benefits that they provide. They've got housing. They do some HR essentials, information on that for working with your employees. Their main service is a provider of H2A labor, but they've got a lot of labor alerts and webinars, advocacy updates. They're also lobbying the legislature and the federal government on issues that deal with labor. Here you can see some dates on some of GS Long's continuing education winter ag academies, and WAFLA is presenters within that. One of those has already occurred. The other one was yesterday in Yakima. Next week is Tri-Cities. And so there's different tracks and different portions that you can get in this training. Remember I said at the onset, continuing education is the name of the game. It's the key of keeping people safe. It's the key of holding people's feet to the fire and say, no, this is the training we're going to give you, and this is the training that you need to adhere to. You can see worker protection standard is one of the portions of it. The leadership skills is amazing. It's wonderful, the things they're teaching people for leadership. It just gives a better balance of employer-employee relationship. Here's a QR screen that you can get for their updates, their monthly newsletter. I'll pause there for a moment if you want to snap a quick picture of that. Every month they're sending out a newsletter. We all at Farm Bureau get copies because we partner with them. There's a vast information in there. Here's you can get a consult with them. And there's another QR screen. You can go and you can get contact and consult. They'll come and give you information on, maybe I'm thinking about H2A. What do I do? Well, here's Lizanne can come and she and her staff can come out and help you with a consult of exploring the idea of H2A. So why do we do this? Why are we partnering with WAFLA? We're not WAFLA. Why are we partnering with? Well, because it's a tool for you. It's a tool to help you do what you do and keep doing what you do. That's our job, is to help you. It's to assist you, to keep you in the same same position that you are now, and hopefully that's profitable, continuing agriculture. Remember at the beginning, I said we seem to be price takers, not price makers. So therefore we need to have sharp knives, sharpen our skills, make sure that we provide assistance for you to keep you in that constant change that's occurring. It always occurs in agriculture. It occurs everywhere, but it's really prevalent in agriculture. So let's talk real quick about another tool. We have a healthcare program. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I'm not versed on it. And legally, I can't give you information on our healthcare. I can give you a flyer, and I believe I mentioned it at the onset. I showed you the flyer, and I believe this will be in some of the things that we'll send to you. But there's the flyer. We'll get that out to you. And if you remember nothing else, call us. But here's the basics of the Healthcare Trust and what it does. It's provided by DiMartino Associates. They are our broker. You can see that there's lots of ag industry businesses and about 4,000 employers that participate in it. There is some savings on health insurance. I mentioned initially that Luis and I, when we were at the potato growers, we heard good and bad on the healthcare, and I think that's indicative of what you're going to hear on healthcare, because it's a dog eat dog world out there in healthcare. There's different plans, medical options that you can pull from. There's different deductibles. There's HSA programs, which is a health savings account, which I happen to have. There's dental options, vision, group life. Thank you, Gwen and Emily in the background doing stuff. Clark County, question on, is it available in Clark County? According to the guys, Jonathan and Dexter from DiMartino, we asked them that again. Is it available in Clark County? And they're saying, as of now, no, but they're working diligently on that. But then again, they've been working diligently on that for about 3 years. So I don't know where that stands. Your best bet is to, I'm going to show you DiMartino's contact info here in a minute. Get a hold of them and ask them. But if you can't get that answered, get with us and we'll help you through it. We'll walk you through it. And now I've locked up again. I got to stop looking at the chat because that's what's causing the problem.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
We had a suggestion from one of the participants. Do you have a lot of screens open?
I do not. That's what I checked that right afterwards. I saw that, and I do not have a lot of screens open. So it's when I go and check the Q&A, then it locks up. So I just need to stop checking the Q&A.
Okay, because we're watching that for you.
Yeah, I know you are. Thank you. I appreciate that. So there's third-party administration that goes on within the Healthcare Trust, consumer services, consolidated billing, COBRA, all of that. Here's different questions that they get asked. Do I qualify? Most businesses, except in Clark County, with 2 or more full-time employees, is going to qualify. Is my doctor in the network? Probably. When can I join? Any month you can join, but the renewal is in October every year. And then if you want to request a quote, here's the info. Here's the contact. I'm going to try to see if I can get that to full screen. There we go. There is the contact info for the Washington Farm Bureau Healthcare. It's info at WFB, Washington Farm Bureau Healthcare.com. Info at WFBHealthcare.com. Or there's the 800 number, 681-7177. Okay. I see Dominique just emailed something about the OSHA logs. So let me touch on that real quick before I go to my part that I want to show you. Let's stop that. So on the OSHA log, there is requirement for every year to post the summary of your injuries and illnesses from the previous calendar year. If you've never done this, get a hold of us and we'll walk you through it. For the most part, if you're under 10 employees throughout the year, you may be exempt. There are some issues with that there are no exemptions, but check with us. We'll help you walk through it. but you're looking at your injuries and illnesses that occurred in the last year, and you're supposed to record those within 7 days of that recordable injury. You put it on your OSHA log, and at the end of the year, you post your summary. Now, we do have members that will say, gosh, I'm gonna post, if it was a workers' comp claim, I'm gonna post it. Well, put it on my log. The problem with that is it may not be a recordable. And if it's not a recordable, now we are required as employers to send in electronic reporting to OSHA. So if you do a claim and it wasn't a recordable and you send it into OSHA, OSHA will eventually, that will end up in Bureau of Labor Statistics, and Bureau of Labor Statistics will look at it and they'll say, hey, look at all these injuries that are happening in dairies or tree fruit or wherever it is, because we're putting things on the OSHA log that don't necessarily need to be there. And now they're going to add extra scrutiny to that industry. So be careful of what you're adding to your OSHA log. But if you need help with your log, make sure it gets done, and the summary gets posted every year from February 1st, and you take it down April 30th. And you post it in a conspicuous area where employees can come and see it. The reality is most people that are going to see it and want it is the regulators. Labor and Industries, DOSH. They're going to ask for your OSHA log. If they come and do an inspection, they're going to ask you for your OSHA log. So you might as well do it throughout the year. But if you need help on that, let us know. We will be sending out an e-blast very soon on the OSHA log with a reminder to say, hey, here's your OSHA log dates and time and all the information you need on your summary and your put it up on your bulletin board. So I am going to try the last portion, and I'm going to try to do this and not lock up my screen. This is a presentation that Luis and I do, and we are both very fond of doing this out in the field. And you guys stop me if I have requests for information on this as I go through it. Okay. Let's try this. And hopefully we won't lock up. So I mentioned that one of the best things we can do is we can prevent the claim from happening in the first place. And it's amazing the eye-opener that happens when we do these supervisor workshops for you. They don't cost you anything. We come out, we do them for you. We talk to your supervisors, your leads, your managers. We've done these on tailgates of pickups. We've done them for 200 people in a more formal setting. It's an eye-opener because you start talking to people about your supervisors and managers are tasked with several things. One of them might be letting people know that this workers' comp costs come out of their pocket. They pay for a portion of it. And people say, wait, I pay for part of this? Yep, you do. You pay for part of it. Wait, so if somebody does something stupid and they get injured, I pay for it? Yes, everyone pays for this. So one of the things we try to make the supervisors aware of is seasonal temporary workers don't care what your rates are. They're there for a short period of time. They don't care. They're going to pay that year and then they're going to leave. And if they get injured on your watch, you're the one that's left paying that bill. The employer's costs go up, your costs go up, pain and suffering goes up. It's just an issue where if we can avoid it in the first place, let's avoid it in the first place. So how do we do that? Well, we have well-trained individuals that can manage employees. And I mentioned WAFLA having the training that they do, and I mentioned GS Long having the training that they do, and we have this training component. And if we can get supervisors and leads to understand, hey, this is real money, it comes out of your pocket. Let's see if we can keep my screen from locking up, and it's, hold on. I'm going to close everything I've got here and see if we can not lose you all and still keep the program up where I can share. Ah, the wonders of technology. Okay, try it again. Let's do a screen share. Okay. So we talk to employees about agenda when we sit down with them. We say, how long are we going to be here doing this? 6 hours? Because I can tell you that if you're telling people, it's just like this today, we're giving you so much information in a 2 hour period that you can't absorb it all. So we talk to employers or to the supervisors and leads about what are your problems that you have? Maybe it's supervising safety or managing claims. Um, and in this agenda and the topics of information, we're only going to spend about an hour telling you this because you can't absorb it all. So think about that when you're training your employees and you require them to do things that you ask them to do in the workplace. So in an agenda, when you're building it, build that in mind that people cannot absorb it. People gather about 20% of what's told them. So that means they're going to need to hear it 5 times before they finally get it. And Luis and I joke, it's like, I think I'm like 7 times or maybe 10. It's more. So it's something that people aren't going to get everything you say. So as you're building your agenda and you want to talk to people about safety and claims management, if we're not doing it for you, keep it short, keep it concise, keep it clear, make it to where people can grasp it and have an understanding of it in a short period of time. So how did you get to be a supervisor? I showed up, I was the Russell Wilson. I used that the other day and somebody said, don't talk about Russell Wilson. He's part of the evil side now. He's not with us anymore. He's not with Seattle. So, okay. But Russell Wilson showed up. He paid attention. He was the first one there and the last one to leave. How did he excel? Because he was the first one to showed up and the last one to leave. He paid attention. He worked hard. Maybe that's how you got to be a supervisor. What kind of training did you have to become that supervisor to manage people or figure out what the first thing is or find out what your responsibilities are? So then we talk to them about the traps or the pitfalls of supervision. And we say, one-way communication is the worst way to communicate. Like right now, like you folks are listening and I'm doing the communicating. We got audio visual, but it's just one-way communication. Why does hands-on handler training work so well when it's the training for the WSDA provides that we help sponsor? It's because you're actually going and doing hands-on. When there's a chemical label, you break that label down, you look through it and you figure out which parts apply to you. And then when it comes to PPE, personal protective equipment, they put that personal protective equipment on and they actually handle and mix and load quasi chemicals. It's soda and it's orange juice and it's water and different colored waters, and they do different things, and then they'll take different powders, maybe it's flour, maybe it's sugar, and they'll dissolve those and they'll talk about it. It's hands-on, and that hands-on is a far better way to train people than one-way communication. Maybe it's something where you lack authority and enforcement and accountability of your safety plans and your programs and your goals. Everyone knows someone that's in a management position that has poor skills, or you've known someone that's in that position that has poor people skills. Maybe they're a great person, but they just don't have good people skills. It doesn't mean they're not going to be a good supervisor. It means they need some help and assistance and training in that. Maybe they lack that effective and in practice portion of the safety program. Labor and Industries says, have a good safety plan, but it needs to be effective in practice. We used to send out manuals to our members. There was a big, thick manual, and we'd give it to people, and they'd say, I'm in compliance, and they'd stick it on the wall, and that was the end of it. It wasn't effective in practice. Make sure that you apply your rules, your policies, your SOPs, your safe operating procedures. Make sure you apply those in the workplace because that's how you implement your safety plan. Maybe it's poor, unfair treatment of the workforce, or it's I'm always right or an abuse of power. Luis and I like telling a story of I did this class one time in Vancouver area of Washington, and after I was done, one of the guys came up to me and he said, "Hey, I got a great story to tell you about my supervisor." He said, "The other day, we were we were out and it was rainy and it was wet. We were soaked and we were almost done with the job. And the boss pulls up in his pickup and he rolls his window down about 3 inches and he yells out at us, "Hurry up and get that job done. It's not that bad out there." Because he managed from the truck and he didn't get out and go out with the crew because he didn't want to get wet. The crew was soaked. So you can't manage from the office. You can't manage from the pickup. And then we tell them, the supervisors, you are an extension of the employer. And we define what a supervisor is. And we tell them you're a bridge of communication, an interpreter, and you represent and can make or break the company. And for seasonal temporary workers that come and they see a tractor driver, that tractor driver to them, if certainly that tractor driver is telling them, go over here, they're directing them in some way. That's their supervisor. That's the extension of the employer. So that tractor driver can have just as much impact on the employee as the supervisor or the owner. And when we explain that to them, you say, you are that bridge of communication. Even if you're a tractor driver and you're telling people, hey, go over here, you're mandating people go and do their jobs. You are an extension of that. And we tell them all of that. And then we say, but let's appeal to your greed. Let's talk about money, because the easiest claim to manage is the one that never happened. And the easiest on the employees is the one that never happens, because we want to avoid injuries that change lives. Luis has a buddy that lost the tip of his finger in an industrial accident. And he got a new nickname. Luis, you want to mute and tell everybody about your buddy and what his name is?
Yes, his name is Alfonso, and what he did is he was working in an apple packing warehouse. He was making boxes, and he decided he wanted to reach in and grab a piece of tape, I think it was, that got caught in the machine. Well, as he pulled it out, the machine started working on its own, and it caught the tip of the pinky finger, and it just took it right off. Well, the downside is he lost the tip of his finger. The upside is he gained himself a nickname. Now we all call him Pinky.
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 Yep, Pinky. Thank you for that story. Okay, the question I have for everyone is, was that a life-changing event? Well, it's just the tip of his finger, but yes, it was. Because today, Pinky, Alfonso, still has phantom pain in the end of that finger.
Oh, yes. He says he can feel that it's numb. It's still there, but it's numb. And he can feel the sensations like it's still there.
Is that a life-changing event? Yes, it is. Did he get a permanent partial disability award for that? Yes, he did. He got paid for losing the tip of his finger. And if you asked him today, which was better, to keep your finger or get paid, he'd say, keep my finger. So we tell people, let's not have those life-changing events. Luis and I helped an employer with an amputation where a lady got her leg caught in an auger and it severed her leg mid-femur. She lost her entire leg. And it changed her life, and it changed everyone who witnessed it and helped her to keep from dying from bleeding out. It changed the company. It changed Luis and I. It changed Lisa, because she's up and managed that claim. That claim now is like, it capped out at $500,000 for our group, but it's like $1.6 million. Does she deserve part of that for payment? Absolutely she does. She's going to get a permanent partial disability when the claim finalizes for that leg, but it changed her forever. And now it's changed you because you know the story. And we just want to avoid those injuries. And that's the goal behind all of this. Let's prevent it in the first place. But if you can't, you still have the little boo-boos. You don't want these serious injuries where you end up with a nickname like Pinky. We want to make sure that people understand accidents are going to happen. We don't want the severe accidents. It's the small little boo-boo that you get treated and you go right back to work. But it costs money. If a claim costs less than, we'll call it $4,000, it's like $3,800 in medical only, no permanent partial disability award, no time loss or compensability in the claim, no compensable cost in the claim, and it's less than $3,800, it costs you zero, because that's what you're paying in industrial insurance. So remember that if it's medical only and there's no time loss, there's no PPD, there's no loss of earning power, it costs you nothing. It's when it rises above that, if it's medical only, it costs you way less in increased rates in the future. than those others, permanent partial disability, time loss. Those things add tremendous costs to the claim. That's why we're saying the claim to manage easiest is the one that doesn't happen. And when you start telling supervisors, you say, listen, if you keep your cost of your claim, your frequency claims low, you will make money. You will save money. If you have average number of claims, your average risk class, for whatever your risk class is, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, you're going to pay 100% or 1.0, you're going to pay 100% of that risk class. But if you have high number of claims or high frequency of claims, high severity of claims, you're going to pay more. We've seen them as high as 3. So that means you're paying 300%. Okay, quick question, and I'll answer it myself because I'm going to ask you, how much do you think it costs for industrial insurance for loggers up in the hills that are doing logging? You think it's $10 an hour? $10 an hour for workers' comp? Do you think it's $12 an hour? You'd still be low, by the way. It's about $18 an hour for workers' comp for loggers. What do you think about aerial firefighters that are flying retardant planes? It's about $25 an hour. For tree fruits, I know this off the top of my head. If you're at a 1, your average, and it's tree fruits, you're paying about $1.09 per hour. Let's call it $1 per hour that you're paying workers' comp premiums. Why is that such a discrepancy? It's because injuries in tree fruits aren't as severe usually as they are for loggers, for aviation firefighting, aerial bombardment of fires. Those are risky, and injuries in those are really costly, and sometimes it's a life that's insured. So those funds are all calculated by risk, and so tree fruits, we'll just pick on them. There's an accident fund, there's a medical aid fund, and there's a supplemental fund. Employees pay 50% of that medical aid. And you tell supervisors this, and you say, remember, the seasonal temporary workers that come, they don't give a rip what your rates are because they're going to leave. They're going to have a one-time deduction. But you are going to stay, and you're either going to see a reduction in your paycheck because your costs went up, or you're going to see a reduction in your paycheck when your costs, increase in your paycheck when your costs go down. And it doesn't happen for 3, 4, and 5 years later because it lags behind. This is why retro is what it is. So let's take an example. So remember, retro is a look back of 3 years because those claims can remain open for 3 years. You have 4 final adjustments, and that affects your rates as well. Your rates that you pay is reflective of 3, 4, and 5 years ago. So an accident that occurred in 2020 is probably rolling onto your rates right now and will probably roll off next year or the year after. So it takes a bit for those rates to rise and it takes some for them to lower. So let's take 3 companies, exact same company. They do the exact same thing. They all pay a medical base rate of 40 cents an hour, and ABC company is average. They're at a 1.00. And in that 1.00, they're paying 100% of that risk class, whatever that risk class is. And their employees are paying $400 a year, and the employer is paying $40,000 a year. They're average. Average is good. Average is okay. But if you look at company DEF, they are doing a great job of preventing injuries and illnesses in the first place. They're keeping their injuries, the severity low, the frequency low. L&I says you're a good risk, and you've got a history of 3, 4, and 5 years ago, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10 years ago that your costs are low. We're going to lower your rates. And they're down at a 0.5, so they're paying half of the average rate in industry, whatever that industry risk class is. We call it tree fruits, and ABC at 1 is paying 50 cents $1 an hour. DEF is paying 50 cents an hour. Employees are paying a portion of that. So company DEF, $200 a year is what their employees are paying in workers' comp, and the company is paying $20,000 a year. But company XYZ says, man, we're not going to manage our workers' comp. We don't care if someone gets injured. We're just going to add another worker. We have these severities. This is none of our members, by the way. This is not you folks. But that XYZ company ends up paying $80,000 in premium, and their employees pay $800 a year in workers' comp because they're at a 2.0. They're paying 200% of that risk class. Okay, what's the difference between 80,000 and 20,000? It's 60 grand. And we ask people, we say, what will $60,000 buy? And you'll see people in the group, they're like, well, I don't want to say it because, oh my gosh, but it's pay raises and it's bonuses. And we say, yes, it is. But if you have an old shovel that it doesn't, I mean, you got to take the spade on, you got to put wire around it because it's all busted up. The handle's broken up. I got to add an extension to it and tape it on. Don't worry. Don't worry about your workers' comp. You'll never get another shovel or new tractor or a new piece of machinery or equipment because you're paying too much for workers' comp. But look at the cost for employees. And you say, what's the difference between $800 a year and $200 a year? And Luis and I love doing these. I keep picking on Luis. Dominique and I do them too. But if we're doing these at Christmas time or just before Christmas, we ask them, what will $600 buy? Christmas presents. And they're like, yeah. And it's an extra $600 in your pocket as an employee right before Christmas. I mean, it's over the year, right? It takes a year to get all this money to pay it out or get it, but it's $600 in a year. Why not keep that money? So I did this presentation to a company in Moses Lake one time. Luis, you unmuted. Did you have a comment?
No.
Okay. Yep. So this company in Moses Lake, they had a rating of 1.5. And I went and did this presentation that you're hearing right now for them a number of years ago. And they said, after I did it to the management team, they said, will you come and do this for the rest of our workers? I said, sure. So I'm bilingual English, Spanish. Luis is bilingual English, Spanish. Went back and did the class in English and Spanish. And when I got all done, one of the guys comes up to me afterwards. There was about 40 people there, tractor drivers mainly. He comes up and he gets his wallet out and he hands me his pay stub. He goes, you mean that number changes? And he shows me the workers' comp costs. I said, yeah, I'm telling you that number changes every year based on what happened 3, 4, and 5 years ago. He said, wait. So if somebody does something stupid and they get injured, I pay for it? And I said, that's exactly what I'm telling you. He said, okay, thanks. And he folded it up, put it in his pocket, and off he went. And the owner comes over to me and says, what did that guy want? And I told him, he said, oh man, things are going to start happening now. Because he said, that guy is really cheap and he's my lead tractor driver. And he's going to go around and he's going to ride everyone. Hey, don't jump off that tractor like that. You use 3 points of contact to get up into that large tractor. When you get out, don't just turn around and jump out because you land on the ground and you break a knee, break a bone, or you twist your knee and you got an MRI injury. I mean, sorry, a meniscus injury and all of the costs that go along with that. He said, you're going to get injured and I'm going to pay for it and you're not going to spend my money. And that company's costs went from a 1.5 to a 0.75 in 5 years. Because of that one guy that went around and told people, don't you spend a dime of my money. And when you tell people this, they're like, what? Wait. So I pay part of this? Yes, you pay part of that. And when you explain that to them, all of a sudden you've got that one or more people on staff that say, hey, there's a reason we're going to do this. If you can't appeal to someone's decency, morals, and ethics of saying, let's do the right thing and keep people from getting injured, then appeal to their greed and say, it's money, you guys, it's real money. Because if we have an extra $60,000 a year, we can pay increases and bonuses, not to mention the cost of everything else going up with overtime and workers' comp costs and minimum wage and all that goes along with that. So when you explain that to them, they start saying, well, wait a minute, this is real money. Yes, it is real money. So then we delve into whose responsibility. And we go through all of these with them. I'm not going to touch on each one of these just for the interest of time. We're about to wrap up for today. But I want you to think about this, about who is responsible for all these things. And we ask the workers, who are responsible for all of these? And it's everyone. Because Luis is fond of saying to people, people will say, he'll ask them that question. They'll say, well, it's the safety guy. It's the safety gal. It's their job to make sure that we have responsibility in our safety. No, it's everyone. Everyone is responsible for reporting hazards and correcting them or, monitoring the safety of others. Nobody wants to have someone watch over their shoulder. But if someone is new and you are telling them a whole bunch of things all at once, and adults get about 20% of what's told them, then you might have to tell them again and again and again. You might need to monitor them for a little bit. And it's not people that are on this webinar today that need to hear that. It's the people that are in the field doing the actual work. And that's what we do. We get to the field and we tell them, like I say, we've done it on tailgates of pickups, and tell people, this is real money. And they're morally and ethically, it's the right thing to do to prevent the injury in the first place, but it's money too. And they start saying, whoa. And most people that hear this, their rates go down. We talk about what happens if there is a claim and how to manage that, working with that medical provider or the injured worker, or accident reports. Wait, I'm a supervisor and I got to do a whole bunch of extra work if there's a workers' comp claim? Yes, you do, because you should have accident reports, because I can tell you that Lisa and Gwen and Emily and Teresa and Kaylin and Dominique and Jeff and Luis, we're all looking at it and saying, hey, is there a paperwork trail behind this accident? Was there an accident investigation? Did supervisors fill out this information? Because if a supervisor and a witness and an injured worker fill out paperwork, and all of a sudden the stories differ, then it's a red flag. Something's wrong. And if you don't have that issue with, you've prevented the claim in the first place, you don't have to worry about any of that. And by the way, every claim's going to be different, because every single worker is different, because every person is different. We talked to them about their roles and their duties and the things they need to do. You know, what if it's training and implementation and enforcing your rules and knowing the rules in the first place? You know, there are about 60,000 safety rules in agriculture. You can't comply with 60,000 rules. And most of those rules are written because someone had an accident. But you can comply to keep from having those serious injuries and keep from having those fines that occur when they show up on site to do a random inspection, or, you know, someone saw them on the roof of a building and they stopped and they want to do an inspection. So you can't comply with them all, but supervisors and leads need to have that knowledge and understanding of those rules and how to comply with them and apply them. Maybe it's an orientation when they start work. When they start work, given them orientation, they're going to get about 20% of what's told them. And so you need to tell them 5 times. Maybe you need a mentor to follow them around. Maybe you need someone that can help them with on-the-job training. It might not just be something that you turn them loose with. And one thing you can tell people in orientation is, we investigate accidents and we manage our claims. We want you, you are one of our valued employees, and we do not want you injured, even if it's a lie, because it's the truth. Actually, we investigate all our accidents, we manage our claims, and we don't want you to be injured because you're more productive. We have to have you to get this job done. And then we start talking to them about, how do you know what to look for? What if you've got a workplace that you don't know? Well, I don't know how many, issues we have with machinery and guarding, and, maybe there's health issues, there's noise, and there's respiratory issues, and, housekeeping. We start going through things like that with supervisors, and we say, is it your responsibility to do that? Yes, it is. And then we start showing them pictures, and pictures speak 1,000 words. And those of you that have had us do this before at your site, you've seen these pictures before. But Dominique loves these pictures because one is distant, where you get a feel of what it is, and one's close up. So if you're doing an accident investigation, you're taking pictures, make sure you get a distant picture and a close-up picture, okay? So this was actually taken by Rick Castellum, who is now the CEO of WAFLA, and he took this picture when he worked for Farm Bureau. And you can see from a distance, that post is holding up a roof, and it happens to be a cold storage facility over in Seattle on the Duwamish, right down in downtown Seattle. Well, in Seattle, every now and then, they have pretty heavy snow over there when it snows, and there's a lot of weight to it. And if you look at the picture on the right, that post is compromised, and it could collapse and come down and hurt someone, because there's not much holding that up other than that central post. Side ones are, but if that post fails, it comes down and it could injure someone. But that's not the important point. The important point of this is the fresh paint. And there's fresh paint there someone painted that and no one said anything. No one reported, hey, that post is compromised. We should probably get that fixed. Why? Because it wasn't their job. And then you go back here and you say, whose job is it to do all this stuff? Who's responsible for this? Everyone. Hey, here's a problem out here. Someone needs to do something with it. So we show them these pictures and we say, hey, look, this is actual photos that we really need to pay attention to. I took this picture in Yakima at a packing house a number of years ago, and you can see from a distance, it's a strapping machine, and up close, you can go, well, the thing's open. Why is it open? So I asked the employer that was doing the walk around with me, I said, why is the door open? Because you can see inside there's belts and pulleys in there that you could get your finger in. And like Luis's buddy, Pinky, no one would stick their hand in there. But if there's something caught in there and it's going round and round and round, they're probably going to reach in and grab it to pull it out. And they can't let go fast enough before it sucks it in and they lose a finger. And I asked the employer, why is that open? They said, someone probably didn't close it when they were done. I bet you're right. So let's close it. And those are the things that you're looking for as a supervisor. What if it's a right angle grinder that's lacking a guard, or maybe it's access to an eye wash station? Maybe it's storing things in front of electrical. If you look at the right-hand side of this picture, you can see that's an electrical panel, and there's a step stool there. Now, maybe that's a step stool to reach up and grab some of the levers that are up high, but you're not supposed to store things in front of 3 feet in front of electrical panels. Why? Because if you had to shut it off real quick, you can't get to it. Or maybe it's a ladder. Oh my gosh, what's the most injurious object in Farm Bureau in your retro program? Ladders. Falls from ladders. And you can see from a distance, the ladder looks pretty decent, but up close, you can see that step is compromised, and sooner or later, that step's going to give way. Someone needs to report that. That needs to be taken out of service and repaired or replaced. This is just staged, but I hope they move the heater before they light it up, because it's too close to combustibles and the propane tank. What if it's out in a field where there's no rollover protective structure? I took this picture a number of years ago up in Chelan County. It was at the Port District. They had bought some land and they were clearing the land, and then the grass grew up and they left it and said, oh, somebody's got to mow that. Let's put a tractor out there and mow. And you can also see that tractor is missing a PTO shaft guard. And if someone gets caught in that, it will kill them. And so that's no roll bar, no guarding. Those fines, depends on the size of the employer, they're in the thousands of dollars. Those injuries from that are death, and very costly in money, but also in life. From July to September of 2023, there were 3 machinery fatalities in agriculture in the lower Yakima Valley. 2 were rollovers of tractors and 1 was a grape harvester. 3 fatalities, not in our programs, not you folks, not part of our group, but there were 3 fatalities. And those are 3 lives lost, 3 costly injuries to the employer. So here's, I took these pictures, respirator on the left, not properly stored. Well, it's not a big deal. It's stored, it's clean. No, but the cartridges need to come off and be discarded because you need new cartridges at the next shift. And that body needs to be cleaned and stored in a place that will protect it. Because if that gets dust or chemicals or something in it, and you put it to your mouth and you breathe in, now your lungs are affected, and now you have a chronic injury, and that's where industrial hygiene comes in, and that's where you're looking at a long-term health benefit for someone to keep from having the exposure from improperly stored respirators. Or on the right, I took that picture at a friend's place up in Omak one year, and I said, Jim, why is that panel off? And he said, well, they probably didn't put it back on when they were done with it. I bet you're right. Hey, there's a screw there. You got a screwdriver? Let's just put it right back on. And it's just the awareness of that, of walking around and going, yeah, let's just put the cover back on it. And Luis and I show this to the workforce, and we say, how many seats does a tractor have? And we did this one time, and one particular guy goes, well, that particular tractor has 2. No, it has 1. And but here's what happens. So Jeff and Luis is driving the tractor, Jeff's walking along, I'm a laborer, and I see Luis coming by, and Luis and I are buddies, and I'm like, hey, Luis, dame un ride. I want to ride. Don't make me walk back to the shop. And Luis feels bad for me because I'm his coworker and we're friends. It's like, okay, well, jump on. So I jump on, and Labor and Industries took this picture, by the way. And that's not the people you want to take this picture, because what do you think happened to the employer? They got cited for that. Why? Because if that guy falls off, he gets hurt. And it's a serious violation. The other thing with this too is the roll bar is down instead of up, and there's no overhead obstruction. Roll bar up, seatbelt on, one rider. Comments? Questions? On we go. Rick Castellum took this picture a number of years ago up in the Mount Vernon area. That's actually the owner of the company on the ladder. Hey, Luis, help me up here just so I can get up to the top and finish that, just that little bit. Necessity is the mother of invention. Never, never, never lift someone on a forklift unless it has a personnel lifting device that's attached to the mast, that's protected from the backside of the mast, that people can get up and down. They're legal, but it has to be an approved personnel lifting device. Consultation can help you with that. We can help you with that. It's okay to have it, but you can't lift people up on a pallet with a ladder on top of the pallet. Huge hazard. What's one of the most costly and frequent injuries in our program? Falls. Corwin took this picture a number of years ago at a dairy. If the one on the left is orange juice, the one on the right must be grape juice. But there's no label. I'm sure the employees know what it is, hopefully. Maybe, probably not. So let's get labels on things. If you don't have labels on them, it's a violation, and no one knows what personal protective equipment to wear, how to apply it, what the mixing and loading procedures are. Is there eye wash required? And on and on and on. What kind of training is involved? And the other day, Luis came over to my house and he snapped this picture of my garage. Not. But I can tell you that this was given to us by Department of Agriculture, which I'm sure it generated some hefty fines. This would not pass food safety protocol. But I can also tell you that this didn't happen overnight. People brought stuff in there and they set it down and said, I'll get it tomorrow. I'll pick it up tomorrow. Look at the respirator down on the lower left. Look over to the right, the chemical application gear, the PPE, the rain suit. You can't store PPE with chemicals. Behind the fuel tanks there is fertilizer. What happens when you mix fertilizer and petroleum? It goes boom. Look at the propane in the front, in the foreground. There's my Johnson outboard motor. I think there's an Evinrude in there too. What is it? Johnson. There are two Johnson outboard motors. There's a picking bucket. There's picking bags. There's pesticides. There's azim-phosmethyl in a box back there in the back. It didn't happen overnight. And when you tell people, you show them this picture and you say, and you'll hear people murmur, that happened that's what our shop looks like. Don't tell anyone that's what our shop looks like. But it's just housekeeping. And it's just saying, you guys, it's thinking ahead and thinking, well, we probably shouldn't store things like that just for the added risk that it could cause. Maybe it's something that needs to be controlled, that we can eliminate it. We can do it different. We can guard it. We can use personal protective equipment. If it's an administrative rule that says, hey, don't go near there, that's the least effective, and it has to have some sort of disciplinary action. And then roles and duties and responsibilities. Here's the 8-hour reporting rule. Here's interview witnesses. Here's accident investigation. Here's information on claims management. Look at that modern cell phone. We probably need to change these pictures, Luis. Light duty, turn to work, talked about all that, kept on salary. If you really want to know how you're doing, check your knowledge, skills, and abilities. If you really, really want to know how you're doing as a supervisor, ask your employees to test you, to evaluate you, to rate you. How do I do? Well, we shouldn't be afraid to ask for help or say, I don't know. But when you say, I don't know to someone, say, I don't know, but I'm going to go get the answer. I'm going to find out. I'm going to look at my resources. I'm going to get the answer. And then just know that that supervisor, to be effective, has to take that responsibility and power, and they have to balance it. You have to treat people well. You have to do what is best for everyone on the team and certainly for the employees. So, okay. Whole bunch of information in a short period of time. I'm gonna stop that. That is, how are we doing on time? Did we start late and finish early? Oh, we're late to finish. Any questions or things that we can follow up on the end here? I see chat and Q&A. Gwen, Emily, Luis, how are we looking on stuff? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Q&A got taken care of. Ag safety days, someone's asking about that. January 31st in Yakima and February 28th in Wenatchee. And if you need info on that, let us know and we'll get that info to you. So Brooke, thank you. Appreciate you being there. All right, everyone. That's a wrap. Thank you for being here. One last question. How long do you need to keep OSHA logs for the prior years? I've seen people keep them forever, but it's 5 years. 5 years of history of OSHA log information. And nowadays it's electronic. We can keep it electronically. So do that if you can. But 5 years. Remember, it's posting from February 1st to April 30th. Need help with that? Give us a shout. We'll walk you through it and help you. Okay. All right, everyone. That's it. And thank you for being here. And remember that Emily's going to be sending out presentations and our documentation to you. So if you have any questions at all, our contact information will be on that. Please get a hold of us and let us know and we'll help. Okay. All right, everyone, with that, we'll give it a wrap. And thank you very much for being here today. We realize you got lots of other things to do. So appreciate you being here. Thanks. Have a great rest of your year. Shout if we can help.
Thank you, Jeff.